What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Ilia Topuria sends a message to Islam Makhachev. Well, once again, Ilia Topuria had another press conference last night. During the press conference, he sent a message to Makhachev. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. You know, from the beginning, he wanted to give the impression that he had some sort of decision to make. He also said about a week ago, my move up to welterweight isn't going to matter because I'm not planning on vacating my title. You remember that, right? And I had said before that I didn't move up to lightweight to ask anyone for anything, and that I was the one in charge. So who got their way? Who did what they said? As always, him or me. So after this fight, when I have the belt, he can get in line, which is a long one, and someone's eyes will be shining. It looks like the feud between the two is continuously heating up. Ilia Topuria also talked about moving up to welterweight after winning the belt. It's not the plan to fight for the lightweight title and go straight up to welterweight. Whatever works for the UFC and me, we will do it. Do you want to see Ilia Topuria move up to welterweight to be the first 3-division champ? Let us know down in the comments below. Jon Jones is mentally exhausting Tom Aspinall as a tactic? As a lot of fans continue to use the word duck while talking about Jon Jones and the fact that he has yet to sign to fight Tom Aspinall, one of his former foes has presented a much different theory. Unless you're brand new to MMA and this channel, you know that Bones has been prompting sighs and eye rolls for months now because he has not signed to fight Tom Aspinall. Last year, Jones finally said that he might take the fight if the UFC presented him with a massive payday, but so far, the fight is not official. As noted, many have argued that Bones is worried that the dangerous Aspinall will hand him his very first real defeat. But during a recent ESPN appearance, Anthony Smith had this to say about Jones. Jon is a master manipulator and he's a master at mind games that are behind the sport. He's been doing it for years against the best guys in the world. I understand Aspinall has this fighter mindset. The person who cares the least in every negotiation wins. Jon Jones does not care what Tom Aspinall wants, and in fact wants to do the complete opposite of what Aspinall wants. It's one of the most exhausting things I've ever had to deal with, and I've got to respect it. Jon is the master at emotionally and mentally exhausting people, and you can see it in Tom Aspinall already. It is an interesting point, and not surprisingly, Smith's comments drew plenty of reactions online. Here's some of it. Anthony knows Anthony was manipulated by the fans to think he did the right thing not taking the DQ win, so he never became champ, and those same fans make fun of him all the time. Talk about manipulation. Actually, Dana White in the UFC is mentally exhausting Aspinall. If the UFC wasn't a circus, Tom would be undisputed right now and Jones would be stripped. I really don't know what's more pathetic here. Smith trying to glaze Jones despite his actions or the line of reasoning used to glaze Jones. Since when did playing mind games via delaying real competition become something admirable at all? Aspinall might have to move on because I don't think the UFC is going to strip him. What do you think? Is the delay all part of Jones's master game plan, or is he just ducking the rising star? Dricus du Plessis only has one way to win against Khamzat Chimaev. Sean Strickland has fought Dricus du Plessis not once but twice and has also sparred with Khamzat Chimaev. So it's not surprising to hear that the former middleweight champion has an interesting take on how the fight will play out. In fact, Strickland believes DDP can hand Chimaev his first loss if he's able to do one thing. Recently, Strickland spoke with Helen Yee, and Yee told him that DDP and Chimaev are booked to fight on August 16th at UFC 319. After firing numerous insults at Chimaev, Strickland proceeded to offer this breakdown. Someone like me, I've been training with these for years. I usually could counter wrestle and grapple him. So I just don't know if Dricus will be able to counter wrestle him, but if he can, I think he wins hands down. I sparred the Chechen. Hands down, I think Dricus wins, but I think it's going to come down to, are you going to be able to stop that? Are you going to be able to counter wrestle? You can, it's not hard. Based on what we've seen of both du Plessis and Chimaev in the octagon, one could certainly predict that if DDP can keep it standing, his chances of winning will rise considerably. But what do you think? And do you believe that DDP will be able to negate Chimaev's awe-inspiring and feared top game? Alex Pereira gets warned about UFC FUTURE. There's been no shortage of speculation recently about whether Alex Pereira's socials were really hacked, as Poatan has claimed. But more recently, MMA veteran and analyst Josh Thompson had some words of advice for Pereira and other UFC stars. After a post on Pereira's socials noted that he was thinking about retirement while expressing frustration with the UFC, the post was soon taken down. Pereira then claimed that his account had been hacked. A lot of people, particularly insiders, however, were not buying this story. The theory is that the post was in response to negotiations for the Magomed Ankalaev rematch, and that maybe the UFC was pushing Pereira to fight sooner than he wanted. Well, during a recent episode of the Weighing In podcast, Thompson proceeded to report that he's been told by managers that the UFC is not willing to halt the promotional machine for anyone, even its stars. As soon as Thing was put out, I've had conversations with a lot of these fighters' managers. Literally, they were texting me this. We're in a group chat. They're like, dude, everybody's indispensable. No one's safe these days. Conor's not safe. Alex is not safe. It doesn't matter who you are. The sport is now bigger than any athlete. If you're a fighter, and I've said this over the last 3 weeks, you do not have anywhere else to go that will make you the same amount of money. Where do you come in on this? Do you believe Pereira's claim that his account was hacked? And what's your take on Thompson's warning? Magomed Ankalaev sends a message to Dana White. Over the past week, we've been reporting Magomed asking for a fight, but revealing Pereira and Yuri have turned down the offers. Last night, Magomed had the following message to the UFC. Alex Pereira don't want the Ankh anymore. Let's leave him alone because I'm not a bully. Fake Ninja, he said he have to go back to school because he cannot read. Dana White, Mick Maynard, give me some fish. Everything aside, it's nice seeing a champion trying to stay active. Respect to Magomed. Concerns rise for Nate Diaz on Russian Tough? Nate Diaz has been in the news recently on account of his coaching role on the Russian show ALF Reality. The Stockton star was added to the show to coach opposite of Jon Jones, but recently there's been rumors and speculation that something may have happened and that Diaz has walked off the show. For example, recently MMA Pros Pick posted this via social media. In a Russian reality show, someone tried to sneak up on Nate and choke him, but it didn't work. In response, Nate slapped him, hit him with a Stockton slap, and now they're looking for Nate Diaz in Thailand and can't find him. And a Matisek social media account reported this. Apparently, this might become a Yoel Romero versus Jorge Masvidal season, as Nate deleted all IG posts referencing the show, and rumor has it Jon Jones has also pulled out. Now, as the video is being produced, it's not clear if Diaz and Jones have in fact pulled out of the show, but it does seem odd if Diaz has in fact removed all his references to the show from his socials. All that aside, recently another clip of Jones in Thailand surfaced, and no, it wasn't of Bones partying. It captured Jones doing some no-contact sparring with undefeated bare-knuckle fighter Samad Abdirahmanov. Hopefully we get to see Jones throwing hands for real against Aspinall later this year. Reinier sends a warning to Robert Whittaker. Reinier has been booked to fight one of the greatest middleweights of this generation, Robert Whittaker. But don't expect the former one champ to try and reinvent the wheel when the two battle. RDR has been tapped to fight Bobby Knuckles at the UFC's July 26 card in Abu Dhabi, following his shocking and impressive stoppage of Bo Nickel. Well, more recently, RDR spoke with MMA Junkie. When he was asked to break down his fight with Whittaker and how he plans to approach it, the Dutch fighter said this. It's an interesting one to prepare for because there's not a lot of guys with his style and his stand-up. Very explosive, likes to leap in, hands low, good punches, good kicks. So it's not an easy one to prepare for in any way, shape, or form. We'll see where it goes. You'll see me do the same thing I always do. Put the pressure, get close, try to hit him with some good shots, take him down, choke him out. That's the plan. Sure, sounds like a plan, but will he be able to get Whittaker to the mat? Yes, RDR did just stop one of the most decorated wrestlers ever to cross over into the UFC's middleweight division, but the finish didn't come as a result of the Reader's takedowns. It came by a couple of vicious knees, and even Nickel's biggest boosters would likely concede that Whittaker's striking is on a whole nother level than the former wrestling phenom. But what do you think? Do you see the Dutch Knight choking out the Reaper? UFC updates. Let's take a look at some UFC updates. Recently, the UFC announced that Neil Magny and Gunnar Nelson are gonna battle at the promotion's July 19th card in New Orleans. This will mark the second time the welterweights have been booked to fight, as back in 2018, the two were scheduled to fight at a card in Liverpool, but Gunnar Nelson was sidelined with a knee injury at the time. Fast forward to today, and Nelson is coming off a decision loss to Kevin Holland in March, which marked the first time he'd fought since 2023 when he submitted Brian Barberena. Magny, meanwhile, is also looking to get back on track, as the longtime welterweight contender is coming off consecutive stoppage losses to Michael Morales and Carlos Prates. Recently, Leo Guimaraes reported that flyweight Gabriela Fernandez and Julia Stolarenko are gonna throw hands at the UFC's August 9th Vegas card. Fernandez will look to build on a 2-fight winning streak, which includes wins over Kong Wang and Carly Judice. Stolarenko, meanwhile, was stopped by Luana Carolina this past February, which marked the first time she'd competed since she tapped out Molly McCann in 2023. It looks like Kai Asakura could be stepping back in the octagon soon, as it's being reported that the former Rizin champion recently posted this via social media, starting to prepare for battle. The Japanese star was tapped to fight flyweight king Alexandre Pantoja this past December in what was Asakura's UFC debut. Pantoja choked him out in the second round. It'll be interesting to see who the UFC books for Asakura, who's currently ranked number 15 in the flyweight division. And recently, Jimmy Crute reported via Instagram that he signed a new 4-fight deal with the UFC and that his next fight is also a done deal. The Australian didn't announce any details, however. Crute likely avoided his UFC exit this past February by battling Rodolfo Bellato to a majority draw. The 29-year-old 205er had gone winless in his 4 fights prior, although one of his losses came via injury in a fight with Anthony Smith. Who do you want to see Crute fight next? Darren Till sends a warning to Jorge Masvidal. Darren Till was back in action this weekend, and following his victory on a Misfits boxing card, the Scouser fighter issued a fiery warning to Jorge Masvidal. Till faced fellow UFC veteran Darren Stewart in the squared circle and ensured a decision victory by scoring a late knockdown. The bout was Till's second with Misfits Boxing as he stopped Anthony Taylor this past January. Well, while talking to the media afterward, Till vowed he will avenge the vicious KO loss that he suffered at the hands of Gamebred back in 2019.
I don't hate Jorge Masvidal, but I promise you right now, I promise you on my life right now, I will get my revenge on Jorge Masvidal and I will knock him clean spark out. I will get my revenge, mark my words.
It'll be interesting to see if the rematch actually happens, but with Masvidal still planning to return to the UFC, a few things would have to fall into place before that happens. Till was also asked about Tommy Fury, who he was supposed to box in January, before the latter withdrew. At the time, Fury cited Till's repeated threats to use MMA tactics as a reason why. Well, once again, Till did not hold back. There was a big fight. I'm not interested in Tommy. He said he was going through a lot in his personal life. You're not going through a lot of We're all going through mate. You know what I mean? We've all got family problems and we all got trauma. Your problems on the outside. What era are we living in? So what? Just because you're having problems outside of the ring, does that mean you forget how to fight all of a sudden? It mad doesn't wash with me. I'll be honest. If he wants to fight, look, we can fight. Do you see Fury and Till fighting at some point, or do you even care if they do? UFC fighter reveals sad news on health. Last night, something strange happened during the UFC card. An hour before the co-main, the commentators revealed on air that the co-main between Paul Craig and Rodolfo Bellato was off the card. At the time, no one had any idea as to what happened. And before we continue, we have a favor to ask. Help us reach 200,000 subscribers on MMA Zone by subscribing and turning on notifications for daily MMA content. Seriously, we rarely miss a day. Well, it looks like UFC fighter Rodolfo Bellato was forced to withdraw from his fight against Paul Craig at the UFC Vegas 106 because he caught herpes. Yep, you heard that correctly. Bellato went on social media to write the following. I never thought that herpes would take me out of a fight. I'm sorry, all of you guys. But it's something that is out of our control. I'll have more news soon. The MMA community was quick to react to this news, with one fan saying, "That's gotta be a career ender, right? No one's gonna wanna sweat and bleed with this dude now." Another fan wrote, "This is insane. You don't share this publicly. You go back to Brazil and tell Dana, I'm done fighting. Nasty." Probably been spreading that all through his gym. Someone else said, "Well, and there's that. Something else not on my 2025 bingo card." What do you think of this situation? Let us know in the comments below.